Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films. We're talking about the defense and their performance against Detroit. We had a nice long discussion on the offensive side. Randy was able to stick with me for the defense. Randy, how you doing, man? How you feeling? All right?
I'm doing great, football's family. Appreciate you having me on tonight.
Love hearing it, man. You know where my heart is. So you say a
Sure.
football's family, that's automatic like +1 for Randy up there. And of course, he's been a little bit quiet. You know, life kind of takes you here and there. But of course, Randy is still in on these Ravens, and I'm really proud to have him back on the channel. So, man, thank you, Randy. So, where do you want to start with the defense, man? We'll leave it up to you. You want to talk about wing, defensive line, outside linebackers, safeties, corners? Go ahead and give me a spot to start, man.
Let's start with the linebackers. That's where my biggest concern is going forward. I'm not concerned with the first level, and I'm not really concerned about the back end. I'm just not sure how we're going to look in the end with the linebackers.
Me too, bud. Me too. And you know, I kind of been lulled to sleep because last week I'm like changing my tune from even last week when I believe it was Garnett and Jacob Vogel brought it up. And they're like, yeah, Queen, you know, this and that. And I'm like, well, you know, I saw Queen do pretty well in the preseason. I saw him have a pretty good game one. I think this was just a bad game. I expect him to get back to his new renewed self. And it was pretty much the opposite. Like the missed tackles stand out to everybody, Randy. But to me, he's still getting washed out by guards. Coverage isn't great. I think he's better in coverage, but I mean, it's not like he's locking people down unless it's man to man. He does well on that. But yeah, I mean, I'm just not used to our middle linebacker not being the most feared person on the field, which is what we had for Ray, C.J. Mosley, Daryl Smith. I mean, we've had some really bad dudes play middle linebacker, and with Patrick Queen, it's just not there yet. I feel like he took two steps back in this game.
Yeah, I'll take it a little bit further. We don't have, for the first time in Ravens history, we don't have a playmaker at edge or inside linebacker, and it's definitely showing up on the film. It's definitely showing up during the game. I kind of expected him to take a step forward because of what he spoke a good game. He talked about a lot of the dumb mistakes, and maybe it's not as much mental lapses. I don't know what it is. He's physically he can make every play on the field. He can go sideline to sideline. I don't know if it's mental. I don't know if it's a want to. Him and my nephew took a picture together, so I'm not gonna badmouth him too much. He's a cool guy, but that play on the sideline where he just like threw his shoulder is just inexcusable. It's you don't have to obliterate people like Ray did. Just stop his momentum with your leg, with a form tackle around his legs, and let's move on to the next play. So I feel like these are things that are correctable. Physically, he's a modern day middle linebacker. No more than 240, 4.4 speed, sideline to sideline. Like you said, he's gotten better with coverage. We've played some of the best tight ends in the league the first 2 weeks, so they're going to get theirs. But Deandre Smith definitely had his way. Some of the stuff was schemed up. Of course, some of the stuff was schemed up, but Deandre Smith had his way, just
Yeah, I'm
making
looking.
yardage that shouldn't have been there, which was just driving me crazy.
I wrote this down, Randy. Jared Goff had 22 completions. 9 of the 22 were to running backs. So it was a serious attempt at game planning. And I remember one shot down the sideline they took to Swift. I think Marlon got called for a penalty on that one. But Queen did a pretty nice job picking him up man to man. Like, I think he can handle that. It's the stuff in the zone where he's still a little aggressive. But yeah, Randy, like, I would say he's a playmaking linebacker. Like, I feel like we have a playmaker there. The problem is the plays where you got to get down and dirty and really be strong and physical and stand up and know you can't make the play, so you just want to create a pile. I mean, you played plenty of ball. Like, sometimes you got to just, if you can't make the play yourself, you got to set your teammates up and take somebody out. and that's what I want to see from Patrick Queen. Now, I've heard people say, and I've been one of these people, that they should put another linebacker at Mike and let Queen chase from the weak side at will. But I think that's a good idea. But quite honestly, Randy, if they didn't make that switch last year and they invested a first round pick in him, I guess is the philosophy. I don't see them changing that. I think Patrick Queen is your Mike linebacker. He is going to play 80% plus of the snaps all year. So it's not that I don't like that linebacker, as I know people have been asking me. It's not that I don't like that idea. People have been asking me. I just don't think it's something that the coaches would do.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, Jason, because us on Sundays, we just want to see the best players on the field and we just want to win. But it's so much more that goes into it's pretty much the reason why Bashard Perryman leash was so long. You spend that type of equity on someone, you got to see it through. So you can't. That maybe a mess with his confidence. He's a first round pick, so you can't just move him to will linebacker and then move the third round or the fourth round pick Malik Harrison to the Mike. So that's not going to look good for their scouting department and the decision makers. They aren't going to just, it's an ego thing, I think, and it's not just the Ravens. It's in life in general. Like you're not ready to cut ties with the things that you thought was going to work. So it makes sense. It makes sense, but it's not going to happen because he hasn't played that bad that they're going to basically demote him to, the will linebacker or the weak linebacker.
Yeah. And do you
I
want
think
to
that it has more to do with that.
Yeah, and I think you also, just building on your point, I think that they don't want to do that to him mentally too, to have him take a step back. Like, look, Patrick, we believe in you. We know you can play better. You just need a little more experience. Go out there and do it. But yeah, and the other linebacker I wanted to speak about, somebody that I haven't seen play good ball in a couple of years now. A major concern for me is Chris Board on these passing situations. You see him come back as the nickel linebacker or the dime linebacker, however you want to say it, depending on whatever personnel is around him. But basically on passing downs, it's Chris Board lining up to Patrick Queen. Your thoughts on Chris Board and Malik, the linebacking group as a whole? Like, what are we going to do here? I guess this is a Lions show, but what do you think about how they played against the Lions, but also what it means going forward?
It's a weakness. That position you want to hear that name being called. That means those players aren't gaining much yards. Our defense is set up for Brandon Williams and Caleus Campbell and Justin Matabuke and Derek Wolfe to take on blockers so that the guys directly behind them are making plays. And I say playmaker with Queen, it's the same thing. It's like, hey, just make the play, whether it's the splash play or the necessary play on the sideline.
Gotcha.
So I think it's just more about. You said it's a line show, but I'm concerned. I'm concerned going forward. I don't have any faith in who knew how important LJ Fort was till right now. I would love to see LJ Fort alongside Queen in these situations. Let Board focus strictly on special teams and sub duty, a reserve role in certain packages where it's obvious passing downs. But I'm not a proponent of having him as the passing down linebacker. God bless him. He's an undrafted free agent who's earned his stripes on his team. So I'm not saying he's a scrub, but it's like you said earlier. It's kind of weird to be in this position where we just don't have depth and strikers. Just I want to see dogs at our linebacker position. That's what we're used to, and that's what we're accustomed to. And anything else is to me, it's unacceptable. Like maybe I'm just a little privileged to be a Ravens fan, but I need to see people who's destroying the running backs. If you got a shoelace tackle. I like to see you run through his rib cage, but that's okay. Just get him to the ground at this point. So, I I'd rather us beat them 20-3 than 36-35. I want to see us dominate our opponents, and I think that starts with the middle linebackers. And I'm not impressed right now.
Yeah, and when you talk about LJ Ford, I mean, we had Josh Bynes in the game, and he looked pretty good compared to what else we were running out there. So, yeah, it's a concern of mine long term. The one thing that I'm looking forward to is, of course, you know how big of a fan I am of Malik Harrison. He's had a slow start to this season as well. But yeah, you're talking about the one guy who can be an enforcer. We do have that in Malik. He just needs to pick up his game a little bit, be in the right spot a little bit more, is what I've seen from him. But yeah, Queen, it's just a little bit of everything. I mean, he gets trapped inside sometimes. The one run they had early, he got trapped in a pile, was too aggressive, and it left it wide open. We're going to need them. Poor game for Queen. I'm not going to give a grade out of respect for him, but it was a bad game for Patrick Queen. One of the worst I've seen, I think, from him, and we're going to need that to change going forward. Now, also, I wanted to talk about the defensive linemen here in this game. We were shorthanded without Brandon Williams, without Matabike. The new guy, McKenzie, 69, he tried. He played hard. He was just overmatched and washed out a little bit. The star of the game on the defensive line to me was pretty clear. That was Caleus Campbell. I have him marked down for 4 splash plays, Randy, like tackles for loss, blowing up the plays. Caleus Campbell was very good. I thought Jelly Ellis was okay. I thought he was pretty good, made a couple of splash plays. Broderick Washington, I was disappointed because I really thought he was going to take over this game. But what are your overall thoughts on either any of the players or the defensive line as a whole?
So I didn't get a second look at it, but I thought Broderick Washington played I thought he played well from my vantage point. I was like 96. Okay, that's Washington, but he stuck out. I noticed McKenzie, was trash talking a little bit in the first half, which is cool. I like seeing. I like us being the bully and not getting bullied. So, I want to see Calais get those sacks. I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna get his 8 this year for 100, but he got washed one play himself, but that was a double team. He can only do so much. But I think they're shorthanded. Matabuke is clearly our best interior pass rusher, and I would say it's pretty close between Calais and Wolf for our second best. So literally had 2 of our 3 best interior pass rushers out the game, and we held them. We held them to a pretty good run total. I don't know the exact numbers, but we weren't gashed for anything. A lot of their screen plays, were like scheme. They basically scheme runs to the outside to get, blockers out in front against our secondary. So, like I said earlier, just like finding blockers to, free up our linebackers. They got to go make the play, and they didn't. So I think for for the most part, Anthony Weaver has those guys, all 3 weeks. Like I think. It's very solid up front, very solid.
Yeah, I thought it was a gutsy is the word that I used, a gutsy effort for the defensive line. Like they were shorthanded. Detroit's offensive line is no joke as far as their size. I mean, it's a big line. So, yeah, I mean, considering the players that we were missing 2 days before the game, by the way, so it wasn't like we were planning to be without them. And then, of course, Derek Wolfe being injured himself. So we were missing 3 of our best defensive linemen for this game. Still didn't get gashed. We mentioned the linebacker play wasn't great. So everything considering, I think you got to take your hats off to the defensive line in this game for playing hard and really hanging in there.
Yep, definitely.
So what about the edge rushers? Now we were down Justin Houston, Jalen Ferguson in this game. Dalen Hayes got hurt. Looks like he's going to be out. Looked like a sprained ankle. He could be. Hopefully, it's not too bad. And he comes back. So, I mean, it was
IR, right?
Yeah, but who knows for how long? At the time of this recording, we don't know if it's short term or long term IR. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's changed, but yeah, it left us with what away, and then McPhee, of
McPhee
course, got his run
and
in there,
Bowser.
and Bowser.
I feel like
Which one?
Bynes plays some edge at that
Yeah,
point.
and actually we lined Campbell up at five tech a bit, which of course is outside the tackle, kind of acting like an edge. So yeah, we got creative there. Um, who do you want to start with on the outside linebackers? Who would you like to talk about?
I was very encouraged with Hayes before he went out. I thought he was active. He was close to getting to the quarterback at one point. His motor is just unbelievable to me. I just love Dalen Hayes' motor. We spoke of, I was on the show for the Dalen Hayes and Odafe Owe, and his get off is just Dalen Hayes is going to have if he can stay healthy, Dalen Hayes is going to have a very long career, in my opinion. He's going to have a very good career. Always it seemed like he got handled by Penei Sewell majority of the game. That's what you're supposed to do. You're the fourth overall pick or the fifth, whatever he went. Penei Sewell, he's a stud. Penei Sewell's a stud. So, he didn't have the moments that he's had the last 2 weeks against the Raiders and the Chiefs, but it's a work in progress with him. I felt like Tyus Bowser had a couple pressures on the quarterback. Obviously, if there's anyone on the defense that's going to make that pass, that catch, that interception, I was very surprised. Out of all of the linebackers, I was very surprised that Tyus Bowser dropped it. He's our sub linebacker. I feel like Tyus Bowser could be a sub linebacker, just dropping into a shallow hook zone. Like, he has that ability. He played that position at Houston. So, the pressures that he put on, he had some pressures to put on with that would-be interception. He was a part of the missed tackle with Patrick Queen on the sideline where Deandre Swift juked him out of his shoes, and then, the lackadaisical effort by Queen to make the tackle, but he was a part of that missed tackle. But besides that, we know we're getting out of him. He's a solid guy, and not people don't. It seems like people don't really try to run the McPhee side, or it doesn't end up well for you. So this is what we know we're going to get out of our edge linebackers, and moving forward, I'm confident that as a collection, the edge players will be fine. Whatever we got out of Jalen Ferguson going forward is a plus. I don't have much. I don't have high expectations for him as a Raven. So, but Owe, Hayes, God, I hope he's short term IR. I'll be looking out for that. But Owe, Hayes, Bowser, those guys. Houston obviously has Houston, but just the guys who we don't know we're going to get. I feel like those guys have shown themselves well over the last 3 games. Like I said, Hayes is turning like one of my favorite players at this point. His motor is just amazing.
Yeah, the guy I want to focus on is Bowser. I will say about Owe, he had a couple of good hustle plays. One was around the goal line where he actually tracked the running back twice to make the tackle. He was there in spots, but yeah, Penei Sewell, there's a reason that people only get sacks against poor. Like, there's a reason that good left tackles don't give up sacks. All your sacks come against the not so good ones. It's hard to beat a guy like Penei Sewell. And
Right.
he looked pretty good, other than his penalties, which really helped us. Out. Penei jumped off sides, I think, twice in this game. Once it was a 4th and 1. So, but yeah, Bowser to me, Randy, was an up and down game by his standards. Usually Bowser is steady. You mentioned the play on the sideline that Queen went in with the shoulder, but yeah, he got bullied pretty good on that. There was a couple other plays where he was being blocked 5-6 yards downfield, double teamed. And then, of course, the interception would have been a gimme. Chuck Clark making a great play there to strip the running back's arm, and the ball was right there. So, yeah, I expect for Bowser, I think it was just a blip on the radar. But in this game, he wasn't up to his normal Bowser standards. Even like some of the coverage stuff, Randy, Balls that I feel like he would have got a fingertip on. He's just not quite there. There was one early in the game to the flat where it looked like his ankle was a little aggressive. He stuck his arm out, but he was a little, just couldn't reach it. So I expect big things going ahead from this group and better days
Yeah.
for Bowser ahead for sure. And I love Oway, by the way. I haven't gotten your opinion on Oway. What do you think about him going forward for the season?
So he's obviously gotten better from the film I watched from Penn State, and then I came on here and I said, doesn't seem like he has any moves. Like he's learning from either Drew Wilkins and Anthony Weaver and or Pinnell and Justin Houston. He's you can tell he's a student of the game at this point because he's learning new things. My biggest thing with him is just his get off. It's still I don't get it. If he can be one of the first people out of his stance to use that explosion that he has, he's going to be vicious. Like he'll get a lot of speed sacks. So I don't know if that's something that it'll take another a year or two. He's relatively new to football, so maybe it's more of a feel thing, which is something you really can't teach. So besides that, like you said, his effort, he's running down the line. He's way better at that PA rollout than Jalen Ferguson, who's just I don't know what he sees when he's just left in no man's land. Whereas Oway gets out there, maybe he's a little bit fast, I don't know, but it's a lot of encouraging signs from him. He's going to play the run well, like we said this offseason. He's not afraid to stick his nose in there and follow the ball and get to it quickly. Let's just see his get off. Let's see him, get off the line really quickly. And, I think double-digit sacks is in his future. At some point, he'll get double-digit just off of his athleticism.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. I mean, he could have a game this year where he gets 2 or 3. I wouldn't be surprised because, like you
Gotta be
said, man,
nice.
he's just
Gotta be
learning.
nice.
I mean, progressing just crazy fast. So yeah, I had to get your thoughts on No Way. Now, the cornerbacks in this game, but let's face it, Detroit does not have a lot of talent at wide receiver. But the cornerbacks were quiet. Anthony Averett, Humphrey did their thing. I mentioned that 9 out of 22 of Goff's completions were to running backs. So you were looking at, and Hawkinson had 2, so maybe it was only 10, 11 completions on our cornerbacks, which is an excellent game.
Yeah, I guess I don't even know any of the receivers besides the guy from USC, St. Brown. So you would hope the two former Alabama Crimson Tide would get the job done. Jimmy Smith, I don't think that pass interference was on Jimmy. I mean, I think that was a BS call. He's just I didn't agree with that call. I'm pretty sure that was their most positive game from their receivers was that defensive pass interference. So business as usual for the cornerbacks. That's what we expect. We're a man team, man blitz team. We leave everyone on the island. So I'm not surprised at all that they had to start scheming up some screens and quick screens and stuff to get some positive yardage. So I would like to see how they do is it week 5 when we play the Chargers?
Yeah, it's
Was it week
coming up
6?
week 5 or 6.
That's going to be the litmus test for Anthony Averett because he's going to have either Keenan or Mike Williams to go after. So that'll be when I really hone in on Anthony Averett. But it's business as usual as for those guys. So let's keep it going.
Yeah, I think we have Denver, then Indy, and then the Chargers. Actually, I'm thinking about it because we're going to be back on Monday night soon against Indy.
Week 6.
But yeah, Tavon Young. I thought that Khalif Raymond was probably their most dangerous guy. Maybe he's just the most ready. Quintez Cephas is a big guy, contested catch guy. I think we saw that only once in this game. And then you mentioned Amon-Ra St. Brown. But what do you think about Tavon in this game? And if you want to give us your opinion of him through 3 games, go right ahead.
He had an ACL injury, so it takes some time to come back from that. I'm not going to doubt Tavon Young. Like he's proven over the years that when he's on the field, he gets the job done. He's probably our best ball hawk now that Marcus Peters is out. Probably has the most interceptions in the secondary at this point. So he continues to guard a position where the release can go left or right. Up the seam, drag, curl. He has to defend literally every single route in the route tree, and the fact that he isn't getting torched after 2.5 ACL and lower leg injuries and stuff like that, it's good. So like we said before, the injury reports, going forward, if he's not on it, his body is responding well to the games, then we get to the point now where I think we're going to see a full season of Tavon Young, and that's good for our defense. That's good for Wink's ability to bring him on those blitzes that he used to get.
Yeah. Yeah, he
So
had a sack in this game. Tavon had a sack. Chuck Clark had a sack. And, I want to talk about the game plan for a second here. They had those 2 DB sacks through a quarter and a half, I think it was. Like the middle of the second quarter is when we got our second one. And then it seemed like Wink took his foot off the pedal. Now, of course, we were leading. Like I kind of expected Wink to be aggressive because we saw Goff shrink in this game. So, what do you think about Wink? Do you think he lacked a little bit of aggressiveness and should have kept his foot on the pedal?
I actually like to see that Wink is switching it up a little bit, even back to the Kansas City game where everyone went in that game expecting us to blitz Mahomes, and he didn't. Maybe he's trying different things. It's probably the deepest and the most healthy, besides Marcus Peters, it's probably the deepest secondary he's had with us. So maybe he's relying on the athleticism of Oweh and Bowser and our interior rushers, and maybe a disguised blitz. So now that you can actually drop 7 in the coverage or 6 in the coverage. So I didn't have any problem with it. Like you said, this was more of a they schemed some things up because they couldn't get the passing game going. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. Every game, I don't feel like every game he needs to blitz 70% of the time. Give your corner some rest sometime. I mean, we don't have to wear them out. So I wasn't opposed to a more conservative, especially when we were up 10 points. We've proven that we're a bend but don't break defense anyway. So, when it's ready to dial the blitz up, maybe dial it up. Maybe he missed some times where he could have dialed it up, but I'm okay with Wink, maybe relaxing a little bit on the blitzes.
Yeah, I like the fact that I praised him big time after the Kansas City game because he did what he had to do. This game, I would have liked to have seen him been a little more aggressive, but like you said, Randy, the thing is, without Marcus Peters, you're relying on Averett and Tavon to hold up in man coverage with no help if you would have run those 0 blitzes. And then, of course, Elliott got hurt, which also limited us at safety on the back end. So I think the injury to Elliott also had something to do with him having to dial it back later in this game. Whereas if you had a steady Deshaun Elliott, you could keep sending Chuck and Tavon, and Elliott could clean up on that. So let's talk about the safeties. To me, the player of the game by far, Chuck Clark. Coaching clinic. I don't know. It was like I was half expecting Skip to Malou to come out because it was like a Chuck Clark mixtape in this game. I think I'm going to have to put together a Chuck Clark highlights on this one. Skip to Malou. Who else comes to mind? Give me one other guy. The professor, of course. But
the professor, white chocolate. He's white chocolate. That's my guy. Who else? Who else from A&1?
Well, we'll skip it. We'll skip it. Skip to Malou was always my favorite, but yeah, it was the Chuck Clark. It was the Chuck Clark mixtape, man. Like he really, really played well and showed Escalade, yeah.
Yeah, he's. I was speaking to you earlier. Like he looked like Buda Baker out there, like a missile. I think he's the one who forced the dropped interception by Tyus Bowser.
He was all over the quarterback's arm. Yep.
He came up earlier. He came up later on in the game for a tackle for a loss. Uh, he has the green dot. He's grossly underpaid for what he does for our team. Like he's consistently around the football. Uh, and unlike some other players on our team, like he isn't afraid to throw his body around. Like he's ready to attack bigger guys. Smaller guys are getting crunched. He played like Buda Baker. I think, like you said, this is probably his best game as a Raven. PFF agreed with that. I think he was not higher than Lamar, but he was up there too. So just an aggressive game from him. Hopefully we can get back to like having that just heat seeking missile, like great player in the back end. Deshaun Elliott is pretty good also, but more performances like this is going to allow, and maybe that's why Gwink, allow him to start surveying stuff, or just understanding that they weren't going to run on our second on our front. So they just got back into a conservative situation where everything was stayed in front of them, nothing over the top, no crazy blitzes, but he's been amazing for 3 years now. I would love to see him play some more sub linebacker and let Jimmy Smith play center field, drop in the shallow coverages and allow Chuck Clark to fill a gap or come on a blitz, a delayed blitz, whatever. But I would love to see them bring Chuck down and let Jimmy play some safety, a little more safety at least.
Yeah, Chuck Clark, is in the box every game, but man, for a more permanent solution, like I said, I really think the problem is finding somebody on the back end. I think they want Chuck in there as much as they can, but yeah, a lot of games Chuck does like the things you can't see on TV. This game was a game that he really got like his shine, where it was like, all right, man, he deserved one of those, because a lot of times he does the dirty work, the quiet work that don't get no respect. But this game, he got his respect. Big tackle, I think, to stop a first down. Like, it could have very easily been a first down. He stonewalled the guy a yard before it. His strength shows up a lot in his tackling, Randy. Like, some bigger guys who are physically, you can see they're bigger than him, man. When he hits them or uses his arms to corral them, they don't go very far.
Got that low center of gravity.
Yeah, low center of gravity for sure. He knows how to use his leverage power, get his legs into it and everything. I mean, it's more, the last thing I want to talk about on the defense is Deshaun Elliott. And, obviously he was having a very good game. We were shutting out the Lions before he went down. We had 2 sacks from other DBs before he went down. It looked like, overall we held the Lions, to under 20 points. So it wasn't like we had a bad game defensively, but it looked like we had to change our plan mid-game without Deshaun Elliott. What is your concern level if Elliott has to miss significant time here?
Well, I'd be concerned because, is he our post safety? Is that what we calling it? The free safety? He's pretty much our post safety. So, he's been there 2 years. We be losing another playmaker. We be losing someone who had several interceptions at Texas, so not so many NFL, but he's another one, like heart and soul of our team, of our defense, where he's going to come up and stick you. He's going to make a play, let you know about it, get the defense going. So sometimes it's not even about the stat line; it's about what you bring, to your comrades, so to speak, out there. So that's going to hurt a little bit if he's not ready. I don't know who would be his replacement. I guess we'd start with Levine, but we'd probably wind up with Jimmy Smith or Darius Washington, Brendan Stevens combination back there with Chuck Clark.
It's a Stevens and Stone thing for me, honestly. I think Jimmy has his role, and Washington hasn't been able to be active, so I think they view Washington as a slot corner, just in my opinion. I don't know if they trust him as a safety. So for me, it's Stevens and Stone. We haven't seen much of Stone, but we have seen Stevens, and his play has been very uneven, some very poor angles tackling. He had a nice play on a deep ball against Kansas City where, if you remember, Averett kind of got beat or passed him off, and Stevens just streamed over there, used his speed. But, I think what we lose with Chuck Clark, too, is a little bit, or if Elliott's out, is a little bit of that deception that him and Chuck Clark use together. So where him and Chuck Clark are on the field and they're showing too deep, but then they're showing single high, or they're showing zero blitz, and then they switch into something else. Well, if you got Jimmy Smith out there with Chuck Clark, you know who's going to be in the box, and you kind of know who's going to be deep. Like
Right.
Jimmy can tackle and all, but you don't want Jimmy getting beat up in the box all the time. So I think we're without Elliott, we're going to lose some disguises from our defense. And like you said, somebody who's been in the defense really for 4 years, even though he hasn't played, he's been in those meeting rooms and understands the defense. So, I mean, as far as the communication with him and Chuck, everything has looked really smooth. So yeah, I'm my concern level for Elliott being out is very high, at least until Brandon Stevens is able to pick up his game and be adjusted here as a rookie.
Yeah, he's definitely. Those two guys are definitely interchangeable. I don't know who's the free safety and who's the strong safety half the time, because they both do both really well. And I've been the driver of the Brandon Stevenson's train from the beginning.
Me too.
So he's not I don't know if it's going to click this year, but he looks the part. At least he looks the part. He isn't getting blown away by the jumping competition from SMU. So maybe as the season goes on, he gets better and he becomes more of a chess piece, so to speak. But I still have high hopes for him this year. But we'll see.
All right, Randy. Well, any last thoughts on the defense? I mean, a big win for the Ravens here. The defense definitely held up their end of the bargain. Anything else that you didn't like from this game on the defense, or something you wanted to restate?
Let's just tackle. Let's just get these guys to the ground. I don't care how we do it. Obviously, no face masks, but no horse collars. But besides that, let's get these guys to the ground, bro. That's not Ravens football, and everyone knows it. It's unacceptable. Hopefully, Rob Ryan and Drew Wilkins, rest in peace to his hamstrings, Drew Wilkins. But let's figure it out. Let's figure out how to get these guys to the ground.
Yeah, great point there, Randy. The tackling has been spotty, very un-Ravens-like. You say play like a Raven. That's smart, tough, discipline, and we've seen some breakdowns there in that defense as far as tackling is concerned. Have to clean that up. That's the kind of stuff that'll get you beat. Shoot, it almost beat us in Kansas City with the two unheard of touchdowns they had. One from Kelsey, one from Pringle. I mean, the tackling was just wretched on there. It could have been the difference in that game.
Yeah, inexcusable.
Well, Randy, I hope you stay on here. At least the bye week, we're going to bring you back, whether you like it or not. I'm going to try to fill that bye week with some good stuff and come up with some creative things. So, Randy and I talk all the time. One of my favorite people to talk football and life with, really, if I'm being honest. So, Randy, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate it. Till next time.
All right, say goodbye to people. We'll see y'all. Love you, football family.
Family, peace.